This weekend, Snake Eyes opens in theaters, so today we're gonna stop and rank all 4 G.I. Joe movies from the worst to the best.
Yo, Joe!
Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 4 G.I. Joe movies. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. As a point of reference, I am an 80s kid. I did grow up watching G.I. Joe. I had all the toys. In fact, I still have all of my toys. They're just falling apart because they're over 30 years old. I have a drawer at my mom's house that looks like a G.I. Joe graveyard because the rubber band is snapped on all of them, so it's just body parts sitting there in a drawer. With that said, let's get started. Coming in last place is G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. Now there's a little bit of campy fun to be had here, but this is simply a movie soaked in bad ideas and horrific character designs. For some reason, they repeatedly decided to replace classic G.I. Joe images, plot lines, and backstories with the goofiest of Hollywood cliches. Why is Baroness Duke's old fiancé? Why are the two of them old buddies with Cobra Commander?
You serious?
This movie just reeks of being micromanaged by some producer who skimmed the Wikipedia page, has never seen G.I. Joe, and decided, well, the hero probably should have a close personal connection to the villain, and all of a sudden we just get this horrific, cringe-inducing backstory for Cobra Commander, and who thought that this look was an improvement over the classic looks for Cobra Commander? Like, this is unbelievable that these were choices that people made that got okayed and funded with over $100 million.
You've made a huge mistake.
And you could tell they totally did not have their finger on the pulse of the G.I. Joe fandom when in the trailers they heavily focused on the accelerator suits that they put on the G.I. Joes.
Standing in front of you, a Delta 6 accelerator suit.
What's it accelerate?
You.
Rather than the G.I. Joes themselves. And all this is disappointing because there is some fun to be had. Some of the casting's actually pretty good, but all of it is just totally overshadowed by the horrible, horrible ideas from people that clearly had no love or understanding of G.I. Joe. Okay, the next 2 movies on this list are a little bit tricky because I'm ranking them as G.I. Joe movies. If I rank them on their G.I. Joe-dom, I put them in one order. If I rank them based off just being movies I'm likely to rewatch, I put them in the opposite order. I will note that as I discuss all of this. In 3rd place is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Now, this is a movie that I don't think did itself any favors by associating itself with G.I. Joe. Because if you just take this as a standalone movie about this loner who gets wrapped up in this world of the Yakuza and battling ninja clans, there's some interesting stuff that takes place in the story with a complex central character who's certainly not all that heroic. He's torn in different directions, and the audience can make up their mind as to which characters they think were in the right and the wrong at different points in time. The cast is really good here, in particular Henry Golding, our star, who's probably going to be a star for a long time, and Andrew Koji as the kind of the co-lead in the story. Both of them really solid. The problem here is, as a G.I. Joe story and an origin story for Snake Eyes, I don't think this movie works at all because Snake Eyes is a total jerk in this movie. All throughout the film, he has every opportunity to do the right thing. He's given the information to know that he's headed down the wrong path. And all the way up until very late in the film, he keeps continuing down the wrong path. And even when he makes the right decision, it's for the wrong reasons. Likewise, this is a movie where they knew what people wanted. Snake Eyes in the suit. That's what people want. So it's on the posters. They heavily showcase the one shot in the movie of him in the suit. But that's not the movie that they delivered. It seems like they actively avoided giving the audience what they wanted.
Why would they do this?
But then marketed the film as that film. The only thing that makes Snake Eyes likable in this movie is Henry Golding, who himself is a charismatic movie star. Likewise, the action here is bad. It is flat out bad. It's shot in close-ups with a shaky cam that's choppily cut together for the most part.
Not impressed.
So when you put that all together, there's a story that I think actually works pretty well. There's some solid performances, but it has terrible action, and it's a bad G.I. Joe movie. Our runner-up is G.I. Joe the movie, the G.I. Joe movie I watched when I was growing up. In fact, I've still got this Cobra Law enforcer dude, Sergeant Slaughter, as well as Serpentor's legs. Don't have the upper torso, but I've still got his legs. Now, as I mentioned before, if I'm just looking to watch a movie, I'm probably more likely to watch Snake Eyes than I am to rewatch G.I. Joe the movie. But as a G.I. Joe movie, this is actually a continuation of the cartoon that I grew up with, continuing the plot lines about what was going on with Cobra at the time, introducing a new batch of G.I. Joes for the continuation of the toy line as well as the TV show, and it gave us this very weird mythology about Cobra going back thousands of years and Cobra Law. And all sorts of wild and crazy stuff that expands on the characters from the cartoon and gives you all sorts of information. So as a G.I. Joe property, it delivers a bunch of G.I. Joe action, G.I. Joe characters, new G.I. Joes, and gave us a fake death for Duke because parents complained about the death of Optimus Prime, so they changed the end of this movie so that Duke, in fact, didn't die. Oops! It's certainly not as good as it probably should be because they were so set on introducing all this new stuff to sell new toys that it doesn't deliver as many great classic moments with the classic characters as you want. You sideline Duke because he's dying in order to spend all this time with this new character that's kind of a jerk that has to be trained by Sergeant Slaughter. All the weird mythology, it's interesting. I don't know that it really fits all that well with the TV show. Doesn't feel like the backstory that I wanted.
Wow, that was weird.
But it is a G.I. Joe story with G.I. Joe type stuff. And for me, as someone that grew up watching it, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. But coming in first place, essentially by default, is G.I. Joe Retaliation. This is the G.I. Joe movie that I think has the fewest bad ideas and the most good ideas.
You did it! Congratulations!
And I think a big part of that is there's quite a bit of talent both in front of and behind the camera. The director is John M. Chu, who went on to direct Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, which are both very good movies and have a distinct visual style. And I think you see this in this movie, especially with like the ninja fight on the side of the cliff. He has an eye for how to capture action really well. The script was written by the guys that wrote the script for Zombieland as well as Deadpool. They have a wit about them. They're very fun screenwriters, and so you can see a little bit of that on display here. And then, of course, you've got a fun cast. Anytime you got The Rock front and center, you've got a charismatic lead. Throw Bruce Willis in just a little bit, even if he's phoning it in. If he's got a machine gun, there's some fun to be had there. Likewise, by giving a very prominent plot line to Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, you take some of the fan favorites, give them a lot to do on screen, and deliver some of the action that you want from them, as well as when Cobra Commander's on display. It's classic looking Cobra Commander. This is a sequel to Rise of Cobra, but it's also a soft reboot. They abandoned everything that they didn't like and just reworked it while continuing plotline set up in that film, which was probably a very wise decision.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Now, there are quite a few story issues here. Anytime you kill off the cast of the main movie right at the beginning to set up a new cast, you're going to annoy me, even if I don't care all that much about Channing Tatum as Duke. Likewise, the story is so kind of scattershot with Snake Eyes having his own plot line, Cobra having their own plot line, the President kind of his own separate thing over here, and then you have The Rock and his crew doing their own thing. Felt so scattershot that it didn't have the urgency that you would necessarily want. So this is far from a home run G.I. Joe movie, but I think it's the one that delivers the best G.I. Joe experience with some classic imagery, trying to be faithful and having some pretty cool set pieces inside of the movie, while not necessarily having as tight of a story as it should have. essentially by default, it comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this review, check out my review of Masters of the Universe Revelation right over there. That is an 80s revival that I think did it better than any of these 4 movies. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.